Ever have that feeling where your heart wants one thing, like desperately, but your head is pulling you somewhere else entirely?
Oh, absolutely. That push and pull, especially during big life moments.
Yeah, like senior year of high school, you've got college applications, maybe a serious relationship. It's intense.
That classic conflict, that tension between, logic and emotion.
Exactly. And today, we're really getting into that through Lara Jean Sonkavi's senior year in Always and Forever, Lara Jean. That's the last book in the Jenny Han trilogy.
Right. We've sort of dug into her story to see how she handles these massive choices when her plans and her heart don't quite line up.
And for those of you who like this kind of analysis, thinking about how stories reflect life, you might check out Mindful Moments. It's a YouTube channel doing AI book analysis, pretty interesting for sparking reflection.
Good suggestion. Our aim here is similar. I think pinpoint the big challenges Lara Jean faces, see what positive ideas come through her story.
And figure out what lessons we can maybe take away for navigating our own big transitions. So let's start at the beginning. What did Lara Jean think senior year would look like?
Well, initially it was all pretty optimistic, wasn't it? She imagined staying close with Peter Kavinsky,
Your boyfriend, yeah.
who already had his lacrosse scholarship for the University of Virginia, UVA.
Okay.
Plus, her dad was getting remarried to Trina, which felt like a happy new chapter for the family.
So stability, romance, and UVA was central to that picture for both her and Peter.
Absolutely. And attending UVA wasn't just about Peter, though. That was obviously a big part. It had personal meaning for Lara Jean, too.
Right. Her mom, her late mother, had a connection there, didn't she? Took classes or something.
Exactly. So it tied into her family history, her sense of connection to her mom. It felt like the perfect plan.
Everything lined up. Seems almost too perfect looking back.
Well, yeah, because then reality hits. The plan gets completely derailed.
The UVA rejection letter.
That's the one. It's a huge turning point. Suddenly, that clear path she saw just vanishes.
And it forces her to face possibilities she hadn't really considered, setting up the main problem of the whole story, really.
It does. So what's the first reaction? Plan B.
Initially, yeah, plan B is William and Mary. The idea is she goes there for a year.
Yeah, and then transfers to UVA. Still trying to keep the original dream alive, or at least nearby Peter.
It's a compromise, right? A way to manage the distance issue. But then another door opens.
A pretty significant one. Acceptance to the University of North Carolina, UNC.
Ah, okay. And UNC is presented differently.
Yeah, it's framed as, academically more prestigious. A really good opportunity for her.
It's further away, much further from Peter at UVA.
Precisely. And that really crystallizes the conflict, doesn't it? Chase this great academic chance for herself, or prioritize staying closer to her boyfriend?
That's the core dilemma. It's interesting how stories like this let us explore those tough choices. Resources like Mindful Moments that you mentioned, and conversations like ours, they often delve into these themes.
They're so relatable, right? Balancing personal ambition with relationships.
So beyond just the plot moving forward, what bigger ideas or positive theories does her story show us?
I think it illustrates the whole coming-of-age journey really well. A big part is identity formation.
How so?
We see Lara Jean starting to make decisions that are truly about her future, separate from Peter. Seriously considering UNC, even though it's far.
That's a big step towards independence.
It is. And also remember her dad's graduation gift? That trip to Korea?
Oh, yeah. To connect with her heritage.
Right. That's another piece of her defining herself, understanding her roots, her Korean-American identity, which is woven through the story.
It definitely is. Even small things, like her rule about costumes earlier on, it shows that aspect of her identity is important. And then there's the whole love versus independence theme itself.
Mm-hmm. It's probably the most central tension, that pull between her deep feelings for Peter and her own need to grow and figure things out for herself.
The college choice is the obvious example.
It is. And you even get advice from her sister, Margot, right, about making her own choices based on Margot's university experience. It reinforces that need for autonomy during this stage.
And it's not just about Lara Jean's individual journey or her romance. The family dynamics are shifting, too.
Oh, absolutely. The story does a great job showing how families adapt. Dr. Covey remarrying, the sisters eventually leaving home. These are big changes.
But the family unit stays strong.
Yeah, you see their bond adapting. Lara Jean getting involved in the wedding planning, Kitty's close relationship with both Lara Jean and Peter.
Yeah.
It shows that support system, even as things change.
Which brings up another point dealing with change itself. Life throws curveballs.
Definitely. And Lara Jean learns to adapt. I mean, the UVA rejection is a huge disappointment initially. But we see her gradually process it, accept the new reality, and actually start exploring these other options like UNC. That adaptability, that resilience, it's a key takeaway.
Let's revisit some key moments. The New York trip feels like a peak romance moment, right?
It does, yeah. It's portrayed as this perfect little getaway. And then Peter's proposal, the whole Sleepless in Seattle thing.
Very romantic.
Totally.
Yeah.
But right after that high, the pressure of the college decisions comes crashing back in. That contrast makes it feel very real.
And then the actual rejection letter. That hits hard.
It's the catalyst, really.
Yeah.
It forces her and Peter to confront the real possibility that their futures might look very different than they imagined. Everything gets reevaluated.
Which leads into some tension during Beach Week, I remember. That wasn't all smooth sailing.
Not at all. Beach Week becomes this pressure cooker. Their different desires plus outside influences.
Like Peter's mom suggesting they break up.
Exactly. That adds a whole layer of strain. It leads to that temporary breakup fueled by insecurity and miscommunication. It shows how fragile things can feel under that kind of pressure.
But they don't end things there. The wedding later on is kind of a turning point back, isn't it?
It is. It's a moment of reconciliation and reaffirmation. Peter's promises in her yearbook.
Oh, yeah, the list. Weekly letters, daily calls.
Always telling the truth, loving her forever. It's their commitment to making long-distance work. It's hopeful. It suggests love can survive distance with effort.
Let's zoom in on Lara Jean herself. What really defines her character?
She's wondrously layered. You see her creative side, the baking, the scrapbooks, which shows her sentimentality. She's very family-oriented.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most interesting part is her growth. She starts off maybe wanting comfort and predictability, but she learns to embrace change, even uncertainty. And her Korean-American heritage is always present, influencing her perspective, culminating in that Korea trip.
What about Peter? He's more than just the jock boyfriend, right?
Oh, definitely. Yes, he's athletic, committed to lacrosse, but we see his devotion to Lara Jean. And importantly, his own emotional journey, especially dealing with his estranged father.
That adds complexity.
It does. And his willingness to even consider transferring to UNC for her, even though it might mess with his scholarship, that shows serious commitment.
And the side characters add layers too, don't they? Like Stormy.
Absolutely. Stormy offers that older, wiser perspective on life and love.
Yeah.
And Margot, even if she's blunt, pushes that idea of independence.
Even Peter's mom, maybe. Her suggestion was painful, but perhaps comes from a place of adult concern.
You could argue that, yeah.
Yeah.
It reflects the real-world worries about young love facing big transitions. They all add different facets to the themes.
You brought up Peter's dad earlier. That feels like a really significant piece of his character, and maybe even the most compelling backstory element.
I think so. It's the emotional weight of his not being there. It's different from Lara Jean missing her mom, is active abandonment. And that whole thing where his dad tries to reconnect, promises to come to graduation.
And then doesn't show up.
Yeah. That's heartbreaking. It gives you insight into Peter's own fears about commitment, maybe about people leaving. It has a lot of vulnerability.
So, pulling it all together, what are the main things we should take away from Lara Jean's senior year?
Well, I think her story really captures that universal struggle, balancing what your heart wants with what your head thinks is best, especially during those big leaps into adulthood.
And those positive ideas we talked about, finding your identity, love versus independence, family changes, adapting, they really shine through.
They do. It's a good reminder that these big life stages are messy. There are unexpected turns, tough choices.
Yeah.
It's rarely a straight line.
Definitely makes you think. Here's something to chew on. How often do society's ideas of a perfect path clash with what we actually want or need during those key moments? And maybe, what does a perfect future even mean?
That's a great question to ponder. There's probably no single answer.
Indeed. Well, if you found this discussion worthwhile, please do subscribe so you don't miss future explorations. Maybe share it with someone you think would connect with Lara Jean's story.
And if you want to read the book yourself, we'll put links where you can find Always and Forever, Lara Jean, and the other books in the series.
Absolutely. And most importantly, keep thinking critically about these stories and how they reflect and maybe shape our own understanding of life's big transitions.